Can I have your attention, please?
Welcome to Leadership Tuesdays. Today we're on location again at the Carl M. Freeman Companies, a real estate development company headquartered in Rockville, Maryland. In this segment, I asked Michelle Freeman what she thinks prepared her to be a female executive in non-traditional industries for women, like the real estate development business, sports, and entertainment.
So I think that I've always been a tough broad. I mean, you know, like when I think about my life, I have great girlfriends. You know, I am not a guy's girl in that sense, where I felt more comfortable hanging out with guys. But I came from a tough Italian family. You had to fight to be heard. You know, there were many of us. You know. You wanted to be sitting at the table and fork first to get your food, and they were loud, and so my voice, you know, had to be heard. I think that's the first thing. I credit my father, honestly, for, you know, he was this very traditional Italian kind of macho guy, teaching his daughter about football, you know, wrestling. You know, we'd sit and watch boxing together. I mean, you know, great matches that I can remember sitting with him. And, you know, he would drag me to the Eagles. I grew up outside of Philadelphia, so he would drag me to every Philly, you know, from baseball to the Sixers basketball, and very much a hockey family, you know. So the Flyers were very much a part of my childhood, and Bobby Schultz and Bernie Parent and some of these old players. I said Bobby Schultz, wrong player. But so all these guys, you know, in my past, and what I think is fascinating is, so I have always been in kind of these male-dominated businesses. I think, like any of us, I could have never written the story, right? Mm-hmm. But each thing on my journey led me to the next thing, and I just had to be open to that next thing. And then I think when you get around men and you're ready to do business with men, I think you just, again, have to use your voice, and you have to stand your ground. And I watch them. You know, I kind of watch how they do business, and you know, they don't have to worry about all this. Like, they don't have to worry about the hair and the makeup and what they're going to wear. They throw a suit on. I think life is much easier for them. You know, and like I said, I guess what I acknowledge and honor is that as a female voice in these very male-predominant businesses, I can bring something that is inherently different, you know, to that business. And I try to make that important. And still do what a guy would do. You know, I remember the first time I walked into the locker room at the Caps, and all of my partners kind of just looked at me, and I said, if Lindsay Czarniak can be in here, why can't I be in here, you know? I mean, what's the problem? And, you know, the guys have been wonderful about it, yeah.
Are there a multitude of opportunities for women in these fields?
No. I mean, so it's funny, because I said to someone this morning, you know, I've never considered myself a women's libber or someone who would fight for gender equality. You know, I've never, that's not been my deal. My deal's been business. My deal's been real estate. I love building things. I love creation. I love the collaborative part of sitting with a piece of paper and, you know, drawing with an architect or a land planner. You know, this is what I've loved my whole life. But when you walk into most of the industry, the real estate industry, when you walk into some of these meetings, or when you have sat for the 100th time at a board table where you're the only woman, you're either blind and choose not to, you know, acknowledge it for whatever reason, or you go, yeah, you know, now it's time for me to start speaking out. Why does a company like Twitter, who has more women users, you know, than men, feel like it's okay to come to their IPO with an all-male board? You know, why can't I, in some of these professional organizations, find groups of women that I can share what it's like to be a working woman with children and, you know, navigating my way through leadership? And all I hear is male voices. You know, all you hear is how you should be dealing with that as your male counterpart. But life is incredibly different for me as a woman, you know. So more and more, I think I'm not afraid to talk about it. I think if people don't like me because I talk about it, well, then that's okay. What I realized last year, I you know, got somehow nominated and whatever it's called for Elle Magazine's, yeah, thank you, 10 most influential women in DC. And when I looked at this group of women, all talking about women's issues, and here I am in the golf business, the development business, the real estate business, the sports business, all predominantly male-dominated businesses. And I wasn't in that conversation. I went, shame on you, Michelle. You know, shame on you. Because quite honestly, you know, once I start talking about it, there's not a guy around me who doesn't say, yeah, like, women are wonderful. To have a woman's voice at the table is incredible, you know? So what do you need? I think you need to be tough. I think as women, I think as women, we take things really personally. One of my partners in the Caps, I hadn't heard from him in forever. And he and I talk regularly. Not probably weekly like I do with most of my girlfriends, but he is definitely one of the more important male voices in my head. And I care for him and his family. And so I hadn't heard from him in like weeks. And so I see him at one of the first Cavs games and I said, oh my God, are you upset with me? It's Cy Juice. He said, come on, stop acting like a woman. Of course I'm not upset with you. I've been busy, you know, I've been busy. And, you know, a guy wouldn't, that would be nothing to a guy. But a woman, you know, the exact strength I've described to you is the emotional part of looking at business, the collaborative, the connectivity that we need to feel. Sometimes there are weaknesses too. We just need to learn to push through that a little bit and not take everything so personally in business relationships, I think.